Hello, beautiful people. This is Dr. Dain Heer. Welcome to this installment of the Tour of Consciousness from Houston. Again. Okay, Corona, die now. Goodbye. Let's get to traveling again. Yes, there will never be normal like it used to be, but let's get to traveling and get to see each other and actually give each other hugs in person all around the world. What do you say? Yes? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hey, never hurts to ask, right? Never know what might show up. You might create a miracle just by your request. That should probably be today's subject, but it is not. Today's subject is inspired by a friend of mine who has a girl that he likes, and they've been in a relationship and all this sort of stuff. So today's topic is called Get the Frenemies Out of Your Head, okay? And I think you probably know what I mean by a frenemy. Somebody who pretends to be a friend, but actually isn't. What you may not be aware of is when people, well, let me put it this way. You carry their crap around in your head with you without realizing it, especially when you think they're a friend, because what should a friend be like? Well, from my point of view, a friend should be number one, somebody who doesn't judge you. Number two, they actually care for you. Number three, they have your best interests at heart and desire to see you succeed. They actually have a generosity of spirit for you. No, I didn't do this. I'm on number 4, or maybe number 5, because I said the thing of desiring to see you succeed. That was number 4. This is number 5. Okay. Just clarifying for some of you who thought, I was doing something else. Or maybe I just thought I wanted to do something else to Corona and Frenemies. Anyway, oh yeah, this is an appropriate one for Frenemies. Anyway, everything that brought up, right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Yes, my friends, the ADHD is at an all-time high. Hopefully you'll get a little energy out of this video also. And if you're finding this on YouTube for the first time and going, what is this guy doing and what is going on? You can find those weird words I just said. It's basically the biggest development and personal upgrade that has occurred ever, as far as I'm concerned, called the clearing statement. You can find it on here on YouTube, or you can go to theclearingstatement.com. Okay, anyway, back to my story. So my friend likes this girl, she likes him, everything is going great, and then one day she calls him and says, hey, I'd really like to slow things down a bit. And so I started asking questions like, what was going on? Have you had any, what have you been talking about the future, what's been going on? And I said, basically, given the energy that you're presenting, there are probably 2 most likely scenarios. I said, number 1 is that she found some other guy that she thinks she might be interested in and wants the freedom to explore that. So she wants the time and space to do that. And he went, okay. And I said, or number 2, the other possibility is there are people in her life that have judgments of you and her being together and are trying to do what they can to destroy it, and she's actually buying into it and listening to them. And he went, oh. Now, one of the tools you've heard me share forever on almost every video is what's true for you makes you lighter. Now, this is a great example of this in action, okay? So I said these are the 2 most likely things, and realizing there could be something totally different also. Said these are the 2 most likely things that could be occurring, and he said, yeah, feels like the second one. That one makes me a lot lighter. Now, isn't this interesting? We're having a conversation about somebody else, but he's got the awareness energetically. Okay, so that's what I say, what I mean when I say what's true for you makes you lighter. Now, is that something he wants to hear? Probably not, but it makes you lighter when you hear what is, even if it's something you think you don't want to hear, even if it's something you think might be terrible to hear, for example. So anyway, see how I'm weaving a tool within a tool? Woo! Okay, so and so what I said to him, and I said, so a lot of people that people think are their friends actually don't want them to be happy. So for example, if frenemies are people who they see you having a great relationship and they don't want you to have one if they don't have one. Well, that's messed up. What kind of friend is that, right? Okay, so that's one thing. And so when I made the title of this video, Get the Frenemies Out of Your Head, I actually said that to him. I said, look, is this a friend or an enemy, or is this a frenemy? And he went, well, basically it's a frenemy. Somebody pretending to be a friend that functions like an enemy. Now, I also have to say, I don't have, I'm a lover, not a fighter, okay? So I'm not somebody who like looks for enemies and that sort of stuff. Oh, you know what? Got to make another video because there's stuff behind that too. I need to explain that one a lot further. So mental note, somebody remind me if I don't do it in the next couple weeks, in the next week, today, I don't know, something. But so I don't go looking for enemies, and I don't go, oh, they're your enemy, you should separate from them. That's not where this is coming from. Where this is coming from is you need to acknowledge where people are functioning from without a judgment. So you don't judge them for it, you don't judge you for it, but you acknowledge where they're choosing to function. So how many people in your life that you call friends judge you? Remember my first element of friendship from my point of view? Somebody who doesn't judge you. Now, finding people like that, they're rather few and far between, unfortunately, on the planet right now. I'm doing everything I can to try to change that. And I know you are also, or I hope you are also. And if you're not, maybe you would. Maybe right now you could just go, you know what? One of the things I'm asking for is a planet that has people who don't judge, who actually have each other's backs and are there for each other. If you look at the people in your life that you call friends, how many of them have judgments of you? Okay, did you hear that? That's my doorbell. You probably can't hear it very well, but it's the Addams family. And we have this big old door. When you open it, it goes, which I'm gonna have to do right now, so I'm gonna have to stop the video. I'll be right back. Hold that thought of judgmental people that you've been calling friends. Hold on. Okay, I am back. I am forward. So the idea about having friends in your life that actually judge you is something, I don't know about you, but I had that my whole life. I sort of thought, sorry, I'm trying to get my head in the frame. How far back do I have to go to get my head in the frame? Maybe if I get on my knees. Maybe I got taller while I walked at the door. That's kind of cool. Okay, anyway. So I had my friend Gary, the founder of Access Consciousness. We'd been best friends for, I don't know, a year and a half, and really had a level of just really this great friendship together. And he came over one day, he said, look, our friendship is over. And I was like, what? He said, you've been judging me. He said, everybody else in the world can judge me, fine, but I do not give my friends permission to judge me. And I was like, whoa, holy shit. And I looked at it, I had to look, right? And I realized that I truly had been doing this judgment thing. And what I did is I called him and I said, hey, you know what? You were correct. I have been judging you. Now this was, I don't know, 18 years ago or something. I said, you were correct. I have been judging you. I'm really sorry. I said, but I thought that's what friends did. Like, and probably a lot of people that are in your life that are judging you, that's just what people do. In other words, they're not sitting there going, I'm going to destroy them with my judgments. I mean, what do? You learn it from your mom, you learn it from your dad, you learn it from your teachers, learn it from all of your family, learn it from everybody about right and wrong and judgment and all that sort of stuff. So we grow up learning to judge, and we carry that into our friendships. Well, once again, from my point of view, a true friend is somebody who doesn't judge you and who has those other characteristics also. So what I did with Gary, we're still friends, by the way. We're like way better friends than we were way back then. But that was partially because he said this to me, and then I had the choice, okay, am I going to continue judging this person, or are we going to go beyond this? And we created something that we use to get over judgment, which anything you have a judgment of, we call it the judgment process. Woo, we're so clever. But anything you have a judgment of, you can get over if you want to. Okay, that's a story way beyond, that's a story for another time. Not exactly. It's way beyond our conversation today, like our ability to do it. Okay. But we do it in access classes sometimes, and I'm happy to give it to you if you want to do it on your own. Okay. But what happened was I said this to him and he went, hey, I get it. I said, will you help me, please? I said, I'll even pay you for a session. I just want to get over this. I don't want to live this way anymore. And he said, okay, you have 45 minutes. Now, this was a man who, previous to this, would be there for hours for whatever I required. He's that kind of friend, okay? And I mean, I say that right now, it brings tears to my eyes, because who does that? Who is there for us in that way? Well, he was, and I was still doing that fucking judgment thing. So, you see how deep this can go without people even realizing it, and I did not realize it. Which is why I want to bring it up to you, because if other people are doing it, it starts to explain, and one of the things I love about Access is it starts to explain, it gets to explain a lot of the things that go on in your life that you didn't understand why they were heavy, why they didn't seem to work, why you felt like you wanted to separate from somebody or felt like they were separate from you. All these sorts of things fall into this, and now you actually can figure out why, which is really friggin' cool. And what happens is, part of the other thing about Access that I love is exactly that, that once you know what's really going on, now you're going into it with your eyes open, sometimes open really wide like this, like a big owl, like, oh. oh shit, that's what they're doing. And what that does, it starts to create more lightness in your life, because when you acknowledge what is, once again, like when my friend acknowledged what was, his world got lighter. And he said, thank you so much for this conversation. This has helped so much. And I talked to him about the stuff I'm talking to you about too. And so, sorry, ADHD, Lord, it's cray-cray. I need to get out of the house. Okay, so with that then, what Gary and I did was we literally sat and we went through our judgments of each other and got rid of them. We used the access clearing statement to do that. And within minutes, there was this even more closeness than there was before. But I had to acknowledge it. Thank God for him bringing it up. He had to acknowledge it and bring it up and go, this is not occurring in my friendships. And then we undid it together, okay? I don't know that most of you can do that with most of the people in your life, because people don't even want to know that they judge. I'm just saying that this is what occurred for me, which got me to this awareness. And I'm also saying it in case there's somewhere where you're doing it in your friendships and you're not acknowledging it, because I learned it, you learned it, we've all pretty much learned it. And once again, I'd like to create a world that is way different. Because when you're judging somebody, you're always separating from them. There's always a reason to separate. And that's one of the reasons we create judgment, so we can keep our back door open in relationships, for example, or friendships, so that we always have a reason to leave. Oh, by the way, when you judge you do the same thing. Oh, do you see how intense this thing is? Goodness, if we lived in a world where with our children from day one, we didn't teach them to judge as though judging this is right and doing it would work. Because let's face it, how many things have you done that were supposedly the right thing that just sucked and destroyed some part of your life or destroyed your level of happiness or something, right? And a lot of people, that's why midlife crises occur, is because a lot of people, what they do is they've got this idea of this is right, this is right, this is right, this is right. And so they try to head in that direction, but they're always judging that they're not doing it right enough. So they feel totally wrong. So now they've got to try to get rid of it all and start over, except the thing they're not getting rid of is the basis called judgment. So given that a lot of people function here, what do we do with it? Well, what I talked to my friend about is I said, okay, so all the stuff that they have been putting in her head that isn't actually hers, because when it occurs like from one day to the next, there's something that occurred on that day, right? And guaranteed, she probably had a conversation with some of her friends who were judging my friend. And the thing is, he's a really sweet guy. And he said, you know what? I don't understand what went on. He's like, I've been totally vulnerable and I've been present, you know, and I've been totally different. Like, I really do my best to honor her and care for her. And I was like, well, that on its own, we're probably going to need to have some relationship conversations, because that on its own can be very intimidating to somebody to be cared for that much. Because one of the things a lot of us do also is if somebody cares for us more, or they're willing to be for us something we're not willing to be for ourselves, we have to reject them. Do you start to see this world as a very strange place to live? And nobody is cognitively aware of this stuff, which is why I make these videos, so you can get more aware of it, so you can start changing this stuff. Because if we can get aware of it and not be number one, we'll stop being the effect of it, okay? Number two, we'll maybe actually be able to create a change in the world with enough of us being aware of what's really going on. So what do you do about the frenemies? Here's what you want to do. So, and which is exactly what I did with him, okay? Now I did it with him about his girlfriend. But what do you do with it with you? What you want to do is you want to go, okay, so all of their points of view, all of their judgments, actually all of their projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that I haven't been aware of, that I now destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Oh my goodness, people. Okay, there's a lot of energy on that, okay? And you haven't even watched the video yet. I'm just tapping into your energy. This is interesting. So once again, all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that your frenemies have of you, that your friends, enemies, frenemies have of you, that you haven't acknowledged, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. One more time. All the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections. You can call it Pez Juniors for short, if that helps, that your friends, supposed friends, have of you, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Times a gazillion, right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. This is turning into another very long video. There's just a lot to say. You can sort of see where this comes from, because if I talk about one part without the other part, you're sort of like, eh? But if I can give you that part too, you go, oh, you go from eh to, oh. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is, oh, okay? And that oh is the lightness of what's true makes you lighter. So if you recognize their projection of you about who you are, what you can be, what you can't be, what you have to be, what you should be, what you shouldn't be, and also their expectation that you're going to be that, sits like a friggin' lead balloon in your world, like a lead blanket over your reality, okay? That's one. So projections, expectations, the separation. Here's where what happens is when they project and expect you should be this and you should be this way and you should be with this type of person or you shouldn't be with this type of person, when you don't fulfill their projections and their expectations, they then separate from you. And you wonder, where did my friend go? Well, that may be a big where did my friend go, is they went to separate from you based on their projection and expectation about what you should be and do that you're not doing and being, okay? Everything that brought up, Lord, apparently a lot of you have had that one too. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So projections, expectations, separations, judgment. Okay, judgment, like we talked about, has been the basis of a supposed reality. It's why things don't work on this planet. If we change that one thing, and it's easy to change when we're aware of it, well, after you've been inundated in it, it doesn't seem easy to change. But if we started our kids not from a world of judgment, but from an awareness of, okay, like if you touch that, it's going to hurt. You know, when they go to put their hand over the fire, for example, if you touch that, it's going to hurt. Then they have choice, not don't touch that. If you choose this, there's going to be a result you don't like. If we started getting people and started teaching our children that their choice creates, not judge what is right and wrong and only choose what's right and never choose what's wrong, because that sets them up to be constantly in a state of judgment of themselves, we would have a different world. Anyway, that's my plug for getting over judgment. And we have to have more conversations on that about parenting also, because goodness, there's a totally different way to be with your kids that empowers them. And if we had empowered children, we wouldn't have bullies. If we had empowered children, we wouldn't have people being the effect of bullies. If we had empowered children, we wouldn't have the teen suicide rate that we have right now. You see where this goes. This is kind of a big deal. And the frenemies are also the people that will turn on you. You know, and we have a lot of our teenage kids, not even teenagers. I mean, kids are teenagers now at like 10 or 11, right? And we have so many of our kids who have friends who turn on them and they don't understand what happened. Well, this is somebody who was functioning from judgment and projection and expectation. They didn't live up to that person's judgment, projection, and expectation, and now the person is doing separation and rejection. That's where projection, expectation, separation, judgment, and rejection comes in. So once again, all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that your friends, in quotes, have of you, that you have of you because you pick that shit up in your head and think it's yours, and that you have of all of your friends, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Whew! Okay, and when I say in these videos, my beautiful friends, I don't have a judgment of you, okay? I'm doing my damnedest to be a space that is beyond that, so you know it's possible, so you know at least one person on the planet has that for you, with you, and about you. And I don't do it by cutting off my awareness. I don't do it by going, oh, everybody's wonderful, so I love them. I do it by being fully present with my awareness of how truly phenomenal you are, that you're probably not even yet willing to know. But what would it be like if you were willing to know how phenomenal you are? Well, what if you were willing to acknowledge that you were a gift and allow yourself to receive that awareness? And unlike what we learned from the world of judgment, the idea if you like yourself in a world of judgment is you're going to become an arrogant asshole. What I found is when you start to acknowledge what's really true for you, what's really great about you, you start to step into being the phenomenal person that you've always been, and you actually contribute more to people. Why am I bringing this up in this conversation? Because when you acknowledge that, then you can perceive the people that are judging and not be the effect of the judgment anymore. Because the last thing I want to talk about in this already very long video, okay? I think it's as long as the last one already. But like I said, there's a lot to say. One other thing I want to talk about and let you know about in this very long video is, I guess maybe that's a judgment that it's a very long video. It could be an acknowledgement, but you have acknowledgement, then you have the point of view that's like, oh, that's wrong for making it that long. But I couldn't really make it any shorter given all these subjects that are coming up. But one of the other things about it is you start to acknowledge you. You start to get lighter, okay? You also start to notice when those things that are not congruent with what is true for you want to bombard your head. If you haven't seen it already, I've got an entire playlist here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you might be on Facebook. You might be somewhere else. I don't know. But if you're watching on YouTube, I've got a Facebook. No judgment. I've got a playlist on YouTube for a tool called Who Does This Belong To? And it's based on the idea, the awareness that 98% of your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions and your judgments don't belong to you. They belong to other people around you, and you pick them up as though they're yours. Why? Because they're like big tuning forks. And when you're vibrating like this, and somebody here is vibrating like this, what happens is you start vibrating together. But the way it works right now is the most forceful energy, the most judgmental energy, the most harsh energy, or the energy that makes you most wrong is the one you entrain to and vibrate like. Well, if you do Who Does This Belong To for 3 days, to every thought, feeling, and emotion you have, at the end of 3 days, you walk around like you're in a walking, talking meditation because you won't buy other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, judgments, and energies as yours. So, there you go. So I gave you what to do about frenemies. Be aware of it and pock and pot all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections every single day. And then ask for people to show up in your life that truly get the gift of you even more than you're willing to get it yourself. Kind of like my friend Gary has done for me for the last 20 years. Kind of like a lot of the friends in my life that I have right now continue to do and be for me. I would like you to have that. I mean, not my friends necessarily. You might not get along with them very well. But how about your own set of friends who are truly friends instead of frenemies? Here's a quick process for you. What energy, space, consciousness, and choice can I be to have and be surrounded by friends and to let all frenemies out of my life with total ease? Everything that doesn't allow that, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay, my beautiful friends. Wow. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been a contribution. And I just love the fact that we can unlock some of these things. And please, if it has been a contribution, please like, please subscribe. Please tell your friends so they can like and subscribe too. Because unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, basically this reality looks at how many subscribers you have. Like if you were seeing a video on YouTube, right? And you look and go, oh, they have 1 million subscribers. You're like, well, something must be right. Let's check that out. Well, for me, if we have 100,000 subscribers, a lot more people are going to go, oh yeah, or 200,000 or 1 million or whatever it is. It makes it more valuable in other people's eyes. So if a lot of people have asked me, Dain, what can I do for you? Thank you so much for the videos. And I thank you all for your emails and your messages of gratitude. I got to tell you, it truly is the wind beneath my wings. I really do mean that. And I'll tell you, I'll have days where I don't want to keep going, and I'll wake up and get one of those emails and go, okay, I can do it another day. So one of the things you can do for me would be to subscribe and hit the little bell icon, and then you'll know when I post a new video. And thank you. What if you truly being you, beyond all projection, expectation, separation, judgment and rejection, and beyond being the effect of anybody else's, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires. I adore you, my beautiful friends. Thank you once again so much for watching. And I cannot wait to see you in person someday. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.